And yeah, I would just like to say welcome to everybody for joining this month, 15th on the 15th webinar. Thanks for taking the time and welcome. Today we'll talk about relativity migrations. It's one of the topics that it's trending in the industry right now. So we thought it would be a good opportunity for us to talk with shed some light on it, and also share some our experiences and participate in some of the discussions with folks in the industry, and talk about relativity migration. So welcome, and thanks again for joining. And without further ado, we'll just dive in. And the first, we'll just cover some of the topics, some of the fundamentals whenever we come across the topic relativity migrations. So we'll talk about why now is a good time to migrate to RelativityOne and enjoy some of the benefits and some of the features that are available with RelativityOne. And then we'll have some overview about the migration roadmap, whether you're into the details of the migration process, or maybe thinking about migrating to RelativityOne and you don't know how the roadmap of that project is going to look like. So we'll have a brief overview to talk about that. Hopefully that'll give you an idea of what the process looks like. And then we'll also cover some of the migration key phases, some of the important steps that everybody should think about when proceeding with the relativity migration projects. And we'll talk about some of the important steps also that we do here at page one after the migrations are completed, and what are the services that are offered, and how we can help everybody to be up and running with RelativityOne. So why now? Why is it a good time to talk about RelativityOne? Why is it important to migrate to RelativityOne? I think we all think that transition is crucial just to stay ahead in the legal technology. The legal teams are handling more now, more data than ever, and it's becoming evident that the data is increasing in types and sizes, and the challenges and also the complexity of data. So this is one of the important reasons to focus on or start thinking about what other technologies that can gives you the advantage of dealing with these different type of data that are emerging every day in the legal industry. The other benefit is that with RelativityOne, with the cloud-based e-discovery platforms, it's always coming in with enhanced security. There's the cloud native protection, the encryption methods, and also the implemented policies and procedures when it comes to security and compliance. This is already implemented, it has been within the tool for a long time now. So this is something that you can put your mind at ease when it comes to the security and compliance when migrating your data to RelativityOne. And on top of the security and also the kind of like enjoying having the peace of mind of the privacy. There's this element of the scalability that supports the case sizes and also the scalability when it comes to how far you can interact with the data, how far you can expand your projects, how far you can expand your focus, and what type of litigations or investigations that you can involve your platform when it comes to just thinking about the different approaches that you would need to have with the data when switching to RelativityOne. Um, there's also the race and innovation in every industry, and the legal industry is not different. The AI powered tools that are available within RelativityOne, they're always uh, being at the forefront of having those innovations implemented, tested. There are a lot of different workflows that are already proven good success in the RelativityOne platform. For example, like the air for review and the automations that are happening right now, also with the other applications. Some of the other applications that are coming up soon, maybe already in place to help all of the legal professionals in exploring the data at early phase to understand how or having the tools to help them um, having a good approach to the data, what strategy they would need to take, what investigations, what kind of options and capabilities that the RelativityOne can offer for them, and it gives them that advantage in speed. Also, with the enhanced cloud security, this is something that we can always emphasize on, is the security is a #1 thing with the relativity or with any other data that we interact with. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a personal data or if it's a client data. Security is one of the main aspects that everybody keeps in mind. In RelativityOne, you have this enhanced cloud security with the proactive threat detection that it's available at all time. So there's a lot of benefits, and with switching to RelativityOne, with migrating your data from legacy systems and having them on modern technology, modern cloud systems like RelativityOne, and cost is also one of the benefits as well. This is something that will cut down on the hardware costs, on the maintenance costs, and also in terms of thinking about the security and the flexibility and the speed of how much you can accomplish with using on cloud services versus on-prem services. Okay, so moving on in terms of how some of these projects will start when it comes to relativity migration. So if we want to take a look at the migration roadmap, maybe we can think about it in terms of first steps in the process and what determines the right pathway on how you tackle the relativity migrations and how you start about that. I think at this point, everyone agrees that migration is inevitable. But the important question is, how are you going to implement it? How do you do it right? And the main elements on how to start your migration process is, I think we can summarize it by 3 steps. Is first, we have to gain a good understanding about the current setup that we have with our workspace, with the cases that we have now, whether it's on server or if it's on a different on-prem solution. So having this understanding about the setup and the maybe some of the implications that we currently have with the workspaces will give us an advantage or understanding about what we need to do with the data and how we can tackle the challenges and how we can move forward. From there, we can, once we have that information and understanding about the data, then we can think about the migration options and having a detailed plan on how we're going to start the process of migrating the database. Some of the options, we start thinking about whether we migrate the entire relativity server instance, or maybe we do a partial migration at the beginning and start maybe with the specific workspaces that will benefit immediately from RelativityOne applications, or maybe some of the other cases that will remain on server for some time and then think about moving them later. but this is also a step that gives us the opportunity to audit the data that we have, to think about the right approach on what we need to do with them later, whether to migrate them or leave them, or think about a different approach on how we're going to have to deal with this data. And then we move into having the appropriate workflow, the appropriate migration workflow. And this will involve more in-depth analysis about the data and the workspaces that we have on the Relativity server. Then we start thinking about the complexity of these data. Maybe there are some custom workflows that are within this data, and understand what are the applications that are needed with that data, the data type, for example. This will always help us to determine the correct migration workflow. So also to think about the migration key phases when we start thinking about the roadmap. Just to go a little bit further into the details about that, is the key phases when it comes to thinking about the migration and having this plan implemented the correct way, because I think this is the most important step in the migration, is to have those key phases or the start of the project implemented very correctly and thought of very, spend a lot of time thinking about it. And at the end of the day, migration is not just about moving data. There are a lot of elements that are related to it. Because at the same time, we want to ensure that security is in place, any compliance or privacy policies that probably you're working on within your organization is implemented, or at least is being part of the migration process. So we break it down into 5 key phases, and that'll be the first step, which is the strategic planning about this, is defining the objective of migrating your workspaces to RelativityOne, and also assess all of the current workflows and see if some of them are going to be compatible right away after you migrate, or maybe some of them will be even enhanced after you migrate. So this will give us a good chance to think about these workflows and also the objectives that we have within our organization or our firm. The other important part is also to engage the stakeholders and having them aligned with the migration plan. Maybe also engage with the other departments that you have in the organization. Maybe there are other departments where they have an objective of defining a privacy policy, for example, or even IT, they have a project to implement some new tools that are going to be compatible with some other cloud infrastructure. This is something that it needs to be also discussed with the other departments, with the other stakeholders, and also the people who are involved working with the data every day. This is something that will be good to discuss with them about their current workflows and objectives, and having them aligned with the and also understand their priorities when it comes to migrating data and interacting with the solutions that are offered in RelativityOne. And then this is when moves to the data optimization, and this is very crucial part as well when we come to the start of having a successful migration plan, is implementing the audit and assess our workspaces, and also think about transferring the valuable data and have them organized and also compliant and secure. We'll go in a little bit more details on how we go about that in the next slide. We'll talk about also security and compliance. Like I mentioned, security and compliance. This is something that it's important to everybody. And with the current practices and policies that we and Relativity actually implemented in place, this is something that it's going to be compatible with every stakeholder's objectives and projects in the future. And then once we have a lot of these crucial information in place, then we will be able to start doing the testing and validation. And this is when we start working with pilot migrations, maybe some workspaces that are not important that we start with, or maybe some dummy data that used to be on the Relativity server, or maybe some of the complex workspaces. They have maybe custom applications or custom scripts and workflows. Maybe we include that in the pilot migration. The pilot or the testing migration is very important. This will set the process to success. Once we have this successfully implemented and we're successful with the testing and validation, it will give us a clear idea on the timelines, on the milestones, and also we'll be able to predict on how long the migration will take, and will help us to be up and running very quickly. And with the execution and the post-migration, on the post-migration, this is, we say it's a post-migration, but a lot of the components and the execution and post-migration will go in parallel as we implement the migration process. For example, some of them are the training and also having people familiar with RelativityOne and what's going on with RelativityOne. At least this will give some idea about what to expect when the data is available on RelativityOne. And even after we complete the migration for the workspaces, then there's going to be a detailed training plan on how to have the end users being comfortable with using RelativityOne by highlighting the different elements between Relativity Server and RelativityOne, and also point out the benefits, and this will be an ongoing thing as part of the training itself. There's a dedicated training program and also the ongoing support, which also includes one-to-one trainings. So these are the key phases, and then moving on to some of the details and those key phases. So the strategic planning, I think I mentioned a lot of these, is to assess the workflows and the business needs. This will all involve everybody. That's why we need to engage all of the stakeholders early in the process to help us define clear migration objectives and goals. And also, we came out with a timeline and milestones that after the planning and after understanding the data will be clear, and everyone will be on the same page on in terms of the expectations. So we'll talk about how page one can help in the migration process. We always love to talk about with our clients about their ongoing processes, whether people are thinking about migrating or happy with just working with the current systems that they have. It's always good to participate in the conversations that are happening in the industry, to think about what are the ideas that we can always collect and enhance or develop the processes that we have. But we start with the scoping meetings, talking about the requirements, and also define the project plan. We help the clients in drafting the project plan and also recommended approach. And then we have some custom tools that we can use to manage the projects, and some of the other tools that Relativity offers. And of course, the custom workflows and templates, because everybody's needs are different. And then we have interactive dashboards, and also metrics that are going to be available for the clients to predict the timelines, and also having some policies and already in place plans to for the risk mitigations or anything like that. And then we'll have a dedicated team that'll be responsible on the migration. And of course, the training and support, this will be ongoing all the time. And then teams, we have teams that are available to do that. And this will be also part of the plan for the migration plan. So it's important for us when we think about the plan, when we draft the plan is going to be tailored to the project, to the client, to the data, and also to the needs and the objectives of the organization. This will help us to streamline the decision making. Maybe like a basic thing to start with is to once we start going line by line on the workspaces that we have on the Relativity server, for example, we start by prioritizing the workspaces. And then once we set the prioritization, then we move on to talk about the migration destination. Whether some of the high priority workspaces, for example, are they going to be on active destination in RelativityOne, or are they going to be in a repository workspace or cold storage, or maybe some of them will stay on server, or as part of the audit and the cleanup, some of them will end up on a hard drive or something like that. And then the priority and the migration destination will help us to understand or form the migration workflow and what approach will be best to tackle or recommended for the workspace migration. Some of the migration workflows are via ARM or the RelativityOne Staging Explorer, ROSE. Or via migrate application within Relativity. Both of these options will require us and Relativity Server Administration to configure the direct connection between the two environments to establish a secure connection that we can transfer the data, whether it's ARM or migrate application, to have the data migrated successfully and securely. And also the other option is the files first. This option is also available, and it's available for those cases that are very, very large in size and they cannot afford a downtime. Maybe it's one of these really active workspaces and it's very large and we need to have these workspaces up and running in no time. The files first option is something that we can also work with. It's basically having the files transferred from the Relativity server first, having them over to the RelativityOne instance environment, and then having an archive of the workspace without the files, with all of the workflows that are currently in place, keeping them intact and migrate those to RelativityOne, and then linking the files and have them in Relativity, and they will be up and running in a very short time. And yeah, so the migration workflow, that's the next thing. And but just to go over some of the details on how we start doing the priority of the workspaces, determining what workflow or the destination for each workspace. The recommended approach is to start with the Relativity server environment, where we can export the data from the case rollups and also the process and statistics. And this will cover all of the workspaces that we have in the Relativity server environment, and then it gives us a comprehensive view of all of the data that we have. It gives us the opportunity to audit the data to determine what needs to be migrated, what needs to be archived or deleted, or maybe redundant. And once we have this data audited, then we can integrate that into the migration planner tools that we have in place. Some of these tools we have in-house at Page One, and some of them in collaboration with Relativity, like the Relativity Migration Planner. And all of these tools, they integrate very quickly with the data types that are exported, whether they are the case rollups or whether they are data exported from different on-prem services. But having these tools, it enables us, it gives us the opportunity to audit the data, work with this tool to audit the data, and also gives us all of these dashboards where we can monitor the progress of the migration. We can see the migration status, the start and date of the migration destination. So overall information about the project itself and how the migrations are going with the workspaces that we have. And then some of the main key steps to minimize disruption and also keeping the data active is because we understand that downtime is a major concern. So this is going back to the essentials of the projects, which is running the pilot migration and scheduling those migrations and doing the audit and all of these steps that we need to do in the process, and having the plan is drafted and implemented correctly. This is what keeps or minimize the disruptions. So basically just the workflow that we implement at the beginning, having this workflow intact, and this will gives us a peace of mind that we're not going to have a downtime more than anticipated, and then we'll be able to stick with the predicted timelines and milestones. One of the other steps in having the data up and running and also minimize disruptions is that we look at the access controls implementations and also the encryptions that are needed, and also validate any permissions and any compliance needs post migrations. This will be implemented as part of the plan as well. And then finally, training and support. Like I said, a lot of these parts will be in parallel with the migration operations, but let's say after the migration is completed and we have the workspaces are available and migrated successfully in RelativityOne, then we'll do team training sessions, training resources, and user guidance and tutorials. Those are going to be always available, whether it's pre-migration or post-migrations, and then on the ongoing support and for smooth adoption to RelativityOne. Sorry, I was just running out of time, so I wanted to cover everything. Migration is a big topic. There's a lot of details on this topic, but I wanted to give a high-level information about what we can cover in this topic in our 15 on the 15th series. But we're always available and would love to talk with anybody who's thinking about relativity migration, whether you have questions or whether you're not even thinking about migration, just would like to have some information about migration and how that process would take place, and maybe tackle some of the challenges that you have within your organization, and maybe think about what other ways or what are the available options that you can use within the RelativityOne environment with the applications that they currently have. So this is something that our doors is always open for. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me or any of the page one team members, and would love to talk to you and answer any questions that you may have.